2-7 parallel lines and transversals. Parallel lines are two lines in the same plane that never meet. Parallel planes are two planes that also never meet. Skew means that two lines are skewed if they do not intersect and are not in the same plane. They also are not parallel. In example 1, we're going to use this diagram to answer these questions. The first one says that we want to name all of the planes that are parallel to plane ABC. Plane ABC is the plane that contains points A, B, and C. A, B, and C are in that top portion. If we think of this as being a box, they are on the lid of the box. So what is going to be parallel to the top of a box? It would be the bottom of a box. So that could be plane, and we can name this a few ways. Just pick any 3 letters from that bottom layer. So EFG, FHG, EGH, something along those lines. All right, next we have that we want to name all of the segments that intersect segment AB. So AB is this top left segment here, and we want to know which ones intersect it, meaning which ones are going to touch it. We have EA is going to touch it. We have FB. We have BD or DB. We have AD or DA. And we have CA. All of those are going to intersect. They're going to touch line AB. All right, next we want to name all of the segments that are skewed to EF. EF is down here in the bottom left. Skew meaning that they are not going to touch it, so these guys would all touch. They are not in the same plane. This is in the same plane on the bottom. This is in the same plane on the left. And they are not parallel. CD is also parallel to it. So all the rest of the lines will fit the bill. So that means we have BD, we have AD, we have AC, and we have CG, CG, and we have DH. All the rest are going to intersect or be in the same plane or be parallel. Next question is very similar. So in our picture here, it's almost like a triangular prism with the top chopped off. We want to name all of the planes that are parallel to SKL. SKL, again, SKL is the plane that contains those 3 points, so it's like the lid here, it's on top. So parallel would be the bottom, and we can pick any 3 letters from that bottom rectangle. So how about TRQ, or we could have picked the NQR or NRT, something like that. Next, we want to name all of the segments that are parallel to MT. Okay, so MT is here on the left, intersect. I apologize, read the wrong one. Intersect is the ones that touch it. So that would be NT, that would be RT, that would be LM, and that would be SM. Okay. Next, we want to do the ones that are parallel to it. So parallel means they're never going to cross it, and they're at really like the same angle in the same plane. So parallel, we would have SN. That's it. That's all we have. Nothing else is going to be at that same angle. All right, next we want to know which ones are skew to it. Well, skew means that they are not parallel. So SM was parallel. They are not intersecting, which are all of these guys. And they are never going to cross it. If I were to continue MT and I were to continue this front one, at some point on the front of this box, these would intersect. So that also cannot be included. So all the ones I have not outlined are good. So SK is fine. KQ or QK, because that's in the back, it'll never touch it. LK, and what did we miss? NQ and RQ or QR. Right now we want all of these segments that are parallel to RQ. So RQ is that bottom right. To be parallel to RQ, that would have to be at the same kind of angle in the same plane. So we have LK, we have TN. And then technically SM is also, even though it doesn't appear to be in the same plane, we really do have kind of this inside rectangle. This could be a plane in here. Okay. Lastly, we want to name all of the ones that are skew. Okay, well, we already know that those guys that we have highlighted are parallel, so they are not skew. What would intersect RQ? These bottom guys would intersect it. So would these two on the front kind of angle there. So what's left is going to be skew. We have SK, we have ML, and we have SN and M. Transversals and angle pairs. A line that intersects two or more lines in a plane at different points is called a transversal. So in our image, T, line T here is our transversal. T for transversal. We have two lines that it is intersecting, and that is line Q and line R. And when we look at this, what happens here is we've really created angles that are considered on the interior, which are inside. If you almost think of these two Q and R lines as like being a sandwich, they would be inside the sandwich. And then we have angles that are on the outside, so that would be the ones outside of the bread. So our outside angles, or our exterior angles, are angles 1 and 2 up top, right? These guys right here. And then angles 8 and 7 on the bottom. For the interior, we have angle 3, 4, and we have angles 5 and 6. Oops, and 5. All right, so we also have names for these different kind of groupings of angles. So if I were to look at specifically the angles that are what we call alternate exterior angles, we'd be looking at the angles that are outside but are on different sides of the transversal. So that would be angle 1 and angle 7. Okay. Then if I wanted, I could also look at angle 2, and the alternate exterior to that would be angle 8. So angle 2 and angle 8 are also alternate exterior angles. Alternate interior, the same concept, just inside. So that would be angle 4 with angle 6. And that would be angle 5 and angle 3. We also can look at these a little bit differently and say we have consecutive angles. Consecutive angles are on the same side of the transversal. So consecutive interior angles are angles that are inside and on the same side. So 4 and 5 would be consecutive interior. And then angles 3 and 6 would be consecutive interior. Lastly, we do have angles that are considered corresponding, and our corresponding angles are those angles that are in the same relative position. So if I think of this as a grouping of 4, and this is a grouping of 4, the angles in the top left corner correspond to each other. That would be angle 1 and angle 5. The ones in the top right corner also correspond to each other, so that'd be 2 and 6. 4 and 8 correspond to each other. And then, of course, the last ones, 3 and 7, correspond to each other. All right. So what we're going to do is name the different relationships we see with these angles, kind of using that information from before. So angle 2 and angle 3. So those are both inside the sandwich. T here is my transversal. So they are interior angles, but they're on the same side, so they are consecutive interior. Angle 1 and angle 5. So instead we're looking at these angles, angle 1 and angle 5. They are both exterior angles. They're on the outside, and they're on alternate sides. So they are alternate exterior angles. The next we're going to look at is angle 1 and angle 3. They're both in the same relative position out of their groupings. They're both in the bottom left corner of their group of 4. So the bottom left, that would mean that they are corresponding. They are in the same position. Angle 7 and angle 3. They're both interior angles. And they're on opposite sides, so they are alternate interior. 8 and 4. Again, opposite sides, so that makes them alternate exterior because they're outside. So they are alternate exterior. 6 and 7. Same side, so they are consecutive. Inside, so they are interior. Okay. 4 and 6, these are actually not ones we just named, but we do know them. 4 and 6 kind of form that X, so they are vertical angles. And last but not least, we're looking at 2 and 1. Oops. So angle 2 and angle 1. Again, they are not any of the ones we just listed, but we do notice that they form a line, so we call them a linear pair. Or you could say that they were supplemental. In example 4, we're also going to classify pairs of angles. So here I have my transversal that is on that diagonal, kind of through this whole image. There's my transversal. And I'm looking at different groupings here. So first I'm looking at angles 1 and 8. So I'm looking at lines P and M. So 1 and 8 are on the exterior of lines P and M. So they are exterior angles on different sides of that purple line. So they are alternate. I'm just going to abbreviate exterior angles. Angles 7 and 10. When I look at 7 and 10, I'm actually looking at 2 different lines now. 7 and 10 are using lines M and N. So even though 7 was exterior before, when I compare these 2 lines, they're interior. They're on different sides, so they are alternate interior angles. Okay. 8 and 12. So the same grouping with the red. They are in the same position. They're both in that top right corner, so they are corresponding. All right, 1 and 5. 1 and 5, we're back to just the 2 lines on the left. Whoops. 1 and 5. So 1 and 5 are also corresponding angles. They're in the same relative position in that bottom left corner. All right. The next we're looking at is angles 4 and 6. Same 2 lines we're looking at now. 4 and 6 are on the inside of those 2 black lines, and they are on the same side. So they are consecutive interior angles. And last but not least, angles 8 and 9. They are using the 2 red, so they're on the inside, but they're on alternate sides, so alternate interior.